Here we go, racers. It is the second of our playoffs. This time it's the race and it's Legends and Lava. Start in the Desert Pens, over to Titans Grove, reverse KQOM, bit of flat, to the sprint, S's, up the volcano, and you're done. Alright, let's break it down with the race on a page. Everyone does one lap. It's not a lap because it's a point-to-point. 24.5 kilometers, 321 meters of elevation. You get aero, you get the draft van, and you get the feather. Where'd you score the points? Well, Titans Grove looks like it's just FAL. I'm not sure why they chose that, but okay. JWB Bridge, or the Watopia Forward Sprint, gives you both FAL and FTS. And the volcano climb is FAL and FTS as well. And of course, finish position. Bike choice. Tron is a great choice, or something else that's pretty balanced because you've got both flats and hills. If you don't have the Tron, think about the Chapter 2 TOA with the MV 7.8 wheels based on Eric's new performance test. That looks really good. Quick look at the DS notes as I've been doing lately. I'm not going to leave this on there long. You can take a screenshot, but most importantly, if you'd rather, do a download of it from the Coffee Club. And talking of the Coffee Club, massive thank you to everyone that has bought me a coffee in the ZRL season. So that's all the names that are popping up in front of you as we speak. And as the last of the names flow by, I always like to say, buying me a coffee is not the only way you can support the channel, and certainly not the first way. Tell your friends, like the channel and subscribe to the channel, or like the video and subscribe to the channel, download the notes as I said earlier, and then when you've done all of that, if you really want to, buy Sherpa a coffee. Let's just take a little look at the strategy, the shorter version if you like. KQOM approach at about 3.5 kilometers from the C pen, which is where I measured from. You descend into the KQOM start, so you can get a pretty fast run up to the KQOM. The KQOM itself, Titans Reverse, is 910 meters at 4%. Expect is just over 1 minute and up to about 2 minutes effort, depending on where you fall, if you're A, B, C, or D. More details on that as we get there in the ride itself. You will pick up a power-up. You guys have been telling me I need to tell you when you pick up a power-up, so you pick up a power-up after that KQOM. Titans bumps. I think this is more important than people give credit for. That's as you descend. Well, first off, for the KQOM, as you finish it, you have to power through because it's kind of flat for a bit, so power on through there, and then recover as best you can on the descent. But when you get to the right at the bottom of the where the forward KQOM marker is, you start those kind of undulations up, and they are really taxing, particularly if you're a bit worn out at that point. So just be very careful and make sure you stay attached to your group. Let's jump all the way to the sprint strategy. This is a longish sprint, so make sure you're balancing your effort. If you go out at full pace right at the start, you won't sustain it all the way through. Just think about where you're going to wind up, where you're going to deliver. You will have a power up here, assuming you haven't used it. And remember that both FAL and FTS are available. Pick up a sprint at the power up. Then you have the S's. And again, kind of like I said in the Titans bumps, that S's climb, that first one, is a little bit taxing. So if you're gassed after the sprint, just be careful that you don't lose touch with the group that you're in. And then Volcano KQOM, the thing to remember on this one is an awful lot of this is draftable. So think about that when you're thinking about your climb strategy. Expect between about 5 minutes, 5 minutes 30 for a fast A, up to 10 minutes for a D. And there you go. Those are the key points, I think. Why don't we jump straight in to the ride itself? So we go out of the pens, and it's 600 meters flat to start. This will go out really fast. Even for a ZRL race, this is going to go out fast, just because every one of you knows what's on the line and knows this is the last race to win your promotion prospects, or to win your division, I should say. All right. Remember that this route was designed to test VO2 max first, then sprint, then threshold power for the 2021 Academy. That makes it a very effective race with something for every one of you. Climbers, sprinters, punchers, you've all got a shot at points here. As we make the turn here, as we go past the springs, it's a roll into 3.5 kilometers. Rest assured, I will do a little bit of jumping around or jumping forward, so you don't have to sit through the entire thing. Most important thing for this first few kilometers is to make sure you're in the best group you can be in, and then sit in that group. Passing the 2 kilometer. I will say that I'm putting up the kilometer markers here for the first half of the race. I do a number of kilometers elapsed, and then I switch to the number of kilometers to go. Let me know in the comments down below if you think that works out well for you. There's our 3 kilometer at 24.5, just as we go through the middle of that tree. Just remember, your mission at this point is probably just to conserve your energy, sit in the bubble of the group that you're in. We're getting close to the KQOM now. Four kilometers down. You're inside 200 meters, inside 100 meters now. And here we go. So it is a fairly steady climb up, around 4%. The intent when they built this course was to, or built this route, was to test your VO2 max, and I think it does that quite nicely. The trick here is to know when you go for it. It's a fairly long sprint, obviously, so you're not going to be able to sustain things 500 meters to go the whole way through. So do you go early with a sustained power, or do you leave it, sit in the bubble, and then go out hard towards the end? It is draftable. There will be some draft effect. At 5% it'll be marginal, but there is some. At time of recording this, it's FAL only. Who knows, maybe they'll change it. There we go. You won't see the big gate there, of course, you'll just see the smaller one, and it's slightly harder to spot. But there you go. So I said earlier on, as you come through here, you can see it's a fairly gentle descent down. You've got to power through there or you'll lose your spot in the group that you're in. So make sure you don't fall back, kind of like I'm falling back here. My excuse is it was a recovery ride. So there you go. Recover on this descent, but make sure you don't lose your position. And we jump through a little bit, 7.7 kilometers, and that's right before the rolling ascent starts. So those undulations upwards. There's the 8 kilometers of 24.5. Now we're descending downwards. Into the tunnels. I'm going to jump forward. There we go. 11 kilometers of 24.5 into the tunnels, and it's flat from here to 12.5 kilometers when we come out of the tunnels. No need to see all of that, so I'll do a little jump forward again. There we are, 12.5 kilometers of 24.5. We're going to bump out of the tunnels now, and then we get that sort of technical section with lots of change in terrain. It is important coming out here. This will be another area where you get tested, so make sure you do not get dropped coming out of the tunnels. And I find this next section tricky too. The changing in the ground terrain changes your speed, and I find people tend to increase power to compensate for that, whereas I'm trying to stay steady state power, and that never works out well for me. This is the last of the boardwalk sections, and then we go to the false flat that winds up the hill. There's our 14 kilometers of 24. So we're well over halfway. We'll jump to the top of this hill. There we go. We're still on that 1%, and then as we go around this bend, you'll know this well, a very slight dip, and then it steepens just a bit. And again, this is another area to watch that the pack you're in doesn't sort of stretch themselves, and you don't want to split and fall behind. All right, now we descend into the Italian village. As always in this race, recover but don't relax. A little bit of cobbles, and now you need to start thinking about the sprint which is going to come right around 16.5 kilometers. There it is. Utopia Sprint, or the JWB Sprint. 350 meters is long for a sprint, so as I said earlier on, just think about how you're going to approach it. And also there in the top left hand side, 8 kilometers to go. So I've switched to the kilometers to go because I think at this point in the race you're really going to want to know how far you have to go. Another point here, the S's Hill, where your pack may well try and test you, and if there's a split, you don't want to miss it. When I'm DSing, I'm constantly at these points making sure that the team is towards the front of whatever group they're in and not drift into the back, because that's how you miss the split. After that little climb, we go through the S's, watching for undulations, watching for surges as we go through the undulations. We all know the S's well, so I'm going to jump to the volcano a little bit before the volcano climb. So we go through the shorter side, shorter way around the volcano, or through the volcano, I guess, and then it's straight to the volcano climb itself. At this point, as you are approaching the KQOM, you've got 4 kilometers to go, and because it's a long sustained hill, I'm going to accelerate the pace just a bit more to get us up there quicker. Alright, it's 3.75 kilometers, average is around 3%, but it's stepped, so the climby bits are a bit more climby than 3%, but it is still draftable. Not a massive draft effect, but some draft effect as you go up there. And then watch for that flat bit as you go through the volcano. You can pick up some speed there, and then the last point to make on this one is the steepest, and I think it hits 9 or 10%, is in that last 100 meters. So just make sure you got some energy. If you're going to try and sprint the last bit, remember the last 100 meters is the steepest of all. In the mini-map, you see that sort of V there, and that tells you got 3 kilometers to go. That V road is actually underneath you, but there you go. There's a few of these sections that dip down or flatten. Make sure you take advantage of those. And then this longer section is flat as you go through the middle of the volcano, about 400-500 meters. And that comes with 2 kilometers to go, and of course the steepest bit right at the end. I was lucky enough in this ride, I can't remember which one it is, or it might have been the Academy, to have some distance markers that you won't see. There's one, I think, with 500 meters to go here. As we hit this wooden bridge, you are at your 1 kilometer mark. So there's your Flamme Rouge. And you won't have these purple markers for the 500 meters, I don't think.
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day. I was down with the
Now we're inside a couple of 100 meters to go, and you can see it really picks up 7, 8, 9%. There's the 10,
with your reflection on me.
but the finish is in sight. It flattens right before the end, and you can finish with a flourish. Well, good luck everybody. I'll leave you as always with a repeat of the downloadables, but please do download them, distribute them to your team. I think I'll be DSing an Australian team for this race, so I'll be up in the middle of the night doing that. I think this has been an amazing season, and I'm looking forward to season 3. Right on, everybody.
Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You got me loose and set me free. You make me win every way. You showed me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. Yes, I'm the winner, yeah. 'Cause I'm the winner, yes. Am I awake or am I dreaming? So far gone, I won't look back. And when I move, there ain't no stopping me. You're pushing me up to the top.